So today we're going to be starting our research project. You'll be researching the whole class period today and next class period as well. Your note cards will be due at the end of next class period. So this video is going to describe quickly how to successfully complete your research part of your project. So if you look in your packet, on the first page, it's going to describe the research and what is required. So listed there are the minimum requirements for your research. So you need the classification, so the domain, the kingdom, the phyla, the class, the order, the family, genus, and species for the animal you have chosen. You need the scientific name written correctly, the common name as well. You want to look for some anatomy and physiology of your animal. How does it reproduce? When does it reproduce? Information about reproduction. How does the animal develop? What are some unique behaviors the animal has? Some ecology, habitat, the niche in which your animal fills in the environment. Some conservation information about it. For some of you, maybe it's endangered or extinct or threatened or protected in the state of Illinois. What is the current population in the state of Illinois? What's its location and range? Sometimes that range will extend beyond the state. You could also include some of that information. You want to try to find a map of how that animal's population is distributed in the state of Illinois and possibly beyond the state of Illinois. Any other unique facts about your organism, and you want to maybe start looking for some pictures and finding those links. Now if you turn to, I believe, the next page, it will describe a little bit more about what some of these things I'm looking for. So what does ecology mean, or what specific questions am I looking for you to answer about its anatomy or reproduction? So if you're looking at the next page, we'll give you a little bit more detail about what some of those categories were or subtopics were. So if you're interested in what is anatomy, you can look there about what I'm looking for your research for anatomy or physiology or reproduction or ecology. So reference that when you're doing your research. Okay, so now we know what you need to research. Let's talk about how you're going to actually record your research. So we're going to be using note cards, and again, I do have some note cards for you if you don't have any. You should, for each note card, write the topic you are researching. So when I say topic, that means one of those categories up above. So for example, your first one might be titled classification. Underneath that, you're going to summarize what you learned from a source on classification. So you're probably going to find one source that's going to give you almost all the classification information for your organism. And you may even find like the scientific name and the common name. You can put those all under classification because they're all kind of similar things. So on that note card at the top, you would have classification. Underneath, you would list the information about the classification of your organism. Then on the back side of that same note card, you're going to write the source in which you found that information. And you need to cite it with APA format. I did email you a copy of APA format, and just after this slide here, I'm going to show you a quick video on how to cite in APA a website, which you're probably going to be finding almost all your sources from the internet. So we'll go over that citation a little bit later in this video. But again, on your note card, on the front side, you're going to have your topic. So it could be ecology, it could be habitat, it could be reproduction. Your information that you find from that source, you're going to summarize it within bullet points, so that you can use that card then to help you write your research paper. And then on the back side, you're going to write the source and where you found that information. Now there should only be one source per card. So if you have two sources that you find information about its habitat on, you should have two separate note cards. One for habitat from the first source, one from habitat for the second source. So only one source per card. And you need to find at least 5 to 7 credible sources of information. Now when we say credible sources, Wikipedia is usually not a very credible source because anyone can edit that page. But if you go to a Wikipedia page and go to the bottom, you'll find links to other sources that are probably more credible. So again, use it as a starting point, but don't cite it as a source. Go to the links at the bottom, find the actual source of where they found the information. Also goodthings.org, .gov, .edu are usually pretty good sources, but again, double check them, make sure they're credible before you cite them. So for your note cards, this is what I'm looking for. So on the front side, you have your subtopic, which would be one of those minimum requirements that you are needing to research. You're going to summarize your information from that one source on the front side. On the back side of the cards, you're going to cite that source with APA format. And then again, don't forget you put your name on the card for grading purposes. So here's a sample of what a note card could look like. So this one was on the topic of population, and this is information someone found from the source about their animal on population. So before European settlements, mountain lions were common in the Midwest. As people settled, the population declined due to habitat loss and hunting. No breeding in the population in Illinois now. Occasionally we will see some individuals migrate through. It's now listed as a protected species. So all this information came from one source. If we were to look at the back side of that note card, we would see the correct APA citation for that, and then the name of the student who completed that note card. And again, you can have more than one note card on a topic, so there could be 5 cards on population or just 1 card on population. However much information you feel is necessary for that, you can use those note cards then to write your research paper.
This video explains how to include websites in your reference list according to APA Style 6th edition. If your instructor has told you to only use scholarly or peer-reviewed sources, this does not include websites. Instead, visit the Munn Library's webpage to search for books, ebooks, and scholarly journal articles. Sometimes it may be appropriate to use a website for a course or an assignment, but you have to evaluate websites very carefully. There are some credible, good sources of reliable information out there, like government or museum websites, but unfortunately plenty more are not credible, very well written, and would not be good sources for a university paper. For help with evaluating websites, check out Munn Library's webpage, How to Evaluate Internet Resources. In this example, punctuation is in red for emphasis. In your actual reference list, all font would be in black. Include as much of the following information as possible. Start with the author's last name, followed by their initials. In parentheses, put the date of creation or publication, if it's available. Then the title of the web page or document. In APA style, the first letter of every word of a web page's title is not capitalized. Just the first letter of the first word of the subtitle, and proper nouns. Then write retrieved from and copy and paste the direct URL link to the web page or document. If all of the information is available on the web page, your citation will look like this. Notice that the URL isn't hyperlinked or underlined. It's the same font as the rest of the reference with no period after it. However, it's often difficult to locate all the necessary information for websites. Often no specific author is given, or it's difficult to determine a publication date. If there is no author given, start with the title of the web page or web document instead, followed by a period, then the date in parentheses. If there is no date indicated, use the abbreviation N.D. to indicate no date.
The last thing I wanted to point out before you start your research is how your note cards are going to be graded. So if you turn to the back of your packet to the grading portion of it, you can see the point values and how they're broken down. So your note cards are going to be worth a total of 50 points, remember, out of your 300-point project. So you can see how everything is broken down there. You'll be graded on your formatting, so you've correctly formatted your note cards. APA citation on the back, 1 subtopic per card, 1 source per card. You've been using your time wisely in class, and they are turned in on time, plus all the information that needs to be there. The last thing I wanted to point out were some good links where you can start your research. These links are listed on the class website, so if you go to Miss Gates Science class, click on Biology on the left-hand side, you will see these links posted. This video will also be posted on the website, so you can go back and review the APA citations as you need. Good luck on your research.